If you run a small business, you might be thinking about getting it incorporated as a limited company. You'd be amazed how easy it is to set up your own limited company. You don't have to pay a lot of money to an accountant, you can do it yourself, and it costs virtually nothing. However, it's really important to get it right legally. My name's Darren Bugg and I'm legally qualified and I've been running businesses for many decades. In this film, I'm going to tell you about the 10 legal essentials that you must be aware of if you're going to run a limited company. Whether you've already set up a limited company or you're thinking of doing so, you have to get these 10 essentials right. They're very simple, very straightforward, but you must know about them. So in this film, I'm going to go through all the 10 essentials you need to know to set up and run a limited company. So the first thing you need to do is file a confirmation statement at Companies House every year. An annual confirmation statement has to be completed at least every 12 months and it's submitted online to Companies House. This document is used to confirm or update any important company information. But remember, if you have any important changes to your company during the year, then don't wait until the end of the year to submit that information. You can update your details with Companies House at any time. For example, if your company address has changed, or you have new directors, new shareholders, or even if your company name has changed. When you submit the confirmation statement, this basically just confirms that all the details are correct. But if there are any changes, you do have the opportunity while you're filling out the form to make changes as well. If you hear about something called an annual return, don't get confused by this. The words annual return is just basically referring to the old form of confirmation statement. In 2016, the name was changed, so the annual return doesn't exist anymore, and the words confirmation statement is just basically the new name for what used to be called the annual return. You have to pay a small fee as well for submitting your confirmation statement. It's under £40 and it's very, very simple to submit your confirmation statement online. You can do it yourself. You don't need to pay an accountant to do it. If you're not sure how to do it, have a look at my other film on YouTube, which explains how you can do it very, very easily in under 10 minutes. So all it's going to cost you is just under £40. You don't need to use an accountant to do this. The second thing that you need to do is prepare annual accounts for Companies House. Now don't get confused with the accounts that you have to submit for HMRC for tax purposes. This is completely different and I'm going to talk about it a bit later on. Your annual accounts for Companies House provide information about your trading activities and your finances, and in particular your balance sheet. They should also be prepared for shareholders, so it's a legal requirement that shareholders also get copies of your annual accounts every year. Small companies can submit what are called micro accounts or abbreviated accounts, and they can also submit something called dormant accounts, and this is where your company isn't trading at the moment but the company is still registered. So for example, if you started trading and you haven't actually done any business yet, so your company's in existence but you haven't actually done any business, then you can submit dormant accounts. And likewise, you might want to take a break from your company for a few years but still keep the company in existence, still keep it registered, and again then you could submit dormant accounts. But you must submit some form of accounts in order to keep your company open. So even if you've taken a few years break and you're no longer trading but your company is still registered, then you still have to submit dormant accounts. There's no fee involved in doing it, and it's very, very easy to submit your accounts. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and if you don't know how to do it, have a look at my other film on YouTube. You don't need to use an accountant, you can do it yourself. Very, very simple, and there's no cost involved. The third thing that you have to do is registering your company for tax with HMRC. Now, the next few things I'm going to talk about are related to HMRC rather than Companies House. HMRC is His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, so in the United Kingdom it's basically the body that collects taxes. All limited companies must be registered with HMRC for corporation tax, and you need to register no later than 3 months after carrying out any type of business activity. So if you set up a limited company, you have 3 months to contact HMRC and let them know to register with them for tax, and that is corporation tax. There are two other things you might have to register for, and that is VAT and PAYE. So VAT is value added tax. You only have to register for paying that with HMRC if your turnover is over a certain amount of money, and this changes every year, so you do need to check online to make sure you know the correct amount. But you can also voluntarily register for VAT even if your turnover doesn't reach this amount, and sometimes it can be advantageous to register for VAT even if your company hasn't reached that threshold. You also have to register for PAYE, which is pay as you earn, and that is if you are employing people and paying them through PAYE. So if you're just a one-man band and you're working on your own, then obviously this doesn't apply. But if you employ people, then you also have to register for PAYE. So potentially 3 things that you have to register for with HMRC: corporation tax, which all companies have to register for, and possibly also VAT and PAYE. The fourth thing you need to do is prepare a company tax return for HMRC. So in other words, you're filing your annual tax return. But I'm not talking about the tax return you do for Companies House. I'm talking about the tax return for HMRC. The accounts for Companies House are not actually for taxation purposes. They are accounts, but they're not for tax purposes. The ones you prepare for HMRC are for the tax that you're going to be charged, and I'm referring to company tax. In the United Kingdom it's called corporation tax, and you have to prepare these accounts for a financial period which is usually going to be 12 months long. The tax return and the accounts are then used to work out how much corporation tax that your company owes. You might not owe any tax, but you still have to do a tax return for HMRC, corporation tax return, every year, and the filing deadline for this is 12 months after the end of each accounting period. Now this can be a bit more complicated. If you're running a very small company, you might be able to do it yourself, but to be absolutely honest, I do think it's better if you get an accountant or some kind of expert or a bookkeeper, somebody with qualifications to do this for you, because they will be able to help you pay less tax. Or perhaps you might have to pay more tax than what you're expecting, but whatever it is, you need to make sure you're paying the correct amount of tax. So when it comes to filing your accounts with Companies House, that's something you can do yourself. Just have a look at my other video on YouTube. But when it comes to preparing your accounts for your tax return for HMRC, then it probably is best if you use an accountant. The fifth thing that you must do is actually pay corporation tax. Obviously only if you owe any money. If your company's only just started trading, you might not be paying tax, but that is a legal requirement to pay tax if you do owe the money. It sounds self-evident, it sounds obvious, but it is a legal requirement that that payment must be made. And this tax applies to all taxable income generated within the standard accounting period that you've chosen when you set up your company, and that accounting period is going to be 12 months long. It doesn't have to be within the standard tax year, which runs from April to April. It depends what accounting year that you chose when you set up your company. So some people's companies might run from January to December. That all depends what you decided when you set up your company. And any tax due must be paid to HMRC 9 months and 1 day after the end of each accounting period. So those are the first 5 essentials that you need to know about running a limited company. The first 5 things are all related to money, and the next 5 things that are coming up are related to other matters that you have to get right legally. So there's 10 essentials altogether. We've just covered the ones relating to money, and the next 5 that are about to come up are related to other matters that you must get right. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, to like, to share. I upload these films every week on YouTube to help you set up, run and be successful in business. My name's Darren Bugg, and now back to the film, and here's 5 more essentials you need to know about running a limited company. The 6th thing that you have to do is report any changes to Companies House. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, you have to do that anyway through your confirmation statement, but you may have to do that sooner if it's important information. And that can cover all sorts of things which are going to be shown on screen right now. I won't read them all out, but it includes things like directors' details, appointment of a new director, appointment of a company secretary. It could be a change of address, change of share capital. It could be something related to the register of people with significant control, what's called the PSC register, and there are various other things you have to report as well. So remember, you are going to be confirming these details in your confirmation statement, but if during the year things change, you are legally required to give that new information, those new changes, to Companies House. The 7th thing that you have to do by law is keep a company register and company records. Now, directors must keep several different business and accounting records at your company's registered office or at your sale address, and the sale address is the single alternative inspection location. And again, I'll show all of these on screen. I won't read them all out, but it includes things like register of directors, register of company secretaries, minutes of meetings, company resolutions, bank statements, contracts, share certificates, and all the other things that I've listed on the screen. You do have to keep these records and registered either at your company address or at your sale address. Now, the statutory registers must be made available for public inspection at either of these addresses. In reality, it's extremely unlikely that a member of the public is going to come knocking on your door and asking to see these things, but it is a legal requirement that you have to have them ready for public inspection if necessary. So don't worry too much. You're not going to actually get people asking to see these things. It's very unlikely, but legally you must keep these records and registers available if any member of the public does want to see them. The 8th thing you need to do is maintain a registered company address. And again, this might sound obvious, but it's not quite as obvious as you might think. Companies must maintain a registered office address in the country of their incorporation, and this address has to be displayed on all public records. A registered office is then used by Companies House, HMRC and various other government bodies as the official correspondence address where statutory mail and any notices are delivered. That's why you have to have this registered address, because if anybody from the government, HMRC, Companies House or any other official body, if they want to contact you, they will use that registered address to actually contact you. And also obviously legal notices, or if anyone wants to take you to court for any reason, then they would have to use that registered address. If a sale address is used, then Companies House must be told immediately of that address and notified of where the records are held, whether they're held at the registered office or whether they're held at the sale address. They must also be notified of their records if they move from the sale address to the company's office address or vice versa. So if you have a registered office and then you decide to change to a sale address, you have to immediately let Companies House know. The 9th thing you have to do, and this one again might not be obvious, but you have to display a company sign at your registered office. Now, your registered office doesn't actually have to be where you're carrying out your business. It could be absolutely anywhere, as long as that is your registered office address with Companies House. So it could be the office where you actually work, or it could be another registered address, but wherever it is, the company's full name must be displayed on a sign at this registered office. Don't worry, if you work from home and if you use your home address as a registered office, then the rule doesn't apply. There's actually an exemption. So if your office address, if your registered office address is actually your home address, then you don't have to put a sign on your front door. Don't worry about that, your neighbours aren't going to know. You only have to do this if your registered office address is different from your home address. And the 10th and final thing you need to do is display all your company details on stationery, websites, and any published or printed materials. Now, this is an important one to remember because it could cost you a lot of money if you get this wrong. Your full company name, your registration number, the country of registration, and your registered address has to be printed on all business stationery. So that could be invoices, letterheads, compliment slips. It could be your business cards, and it also has to be on your website. Remember this, it's important, because if you are starting up a new company and you go to a printing company and you have lots of stationery printed, if you forget to put all these details on the stationery, then it could cost you a lot of money, because you might have to have everything printed all over again. And believe it or not, I know people who've been affected in this way, where they spend thousands of pounds on letterheads and invoices and business cards and all sorts of other material, and they forget to put the registered number or the registered address or the full company name or the details actually on this printed material. If you forget to do that, you're going to have to throw it all away and print it again. So remember, your company details, registration number, registered address, and the country in which you are registered has to be put on all your official printed materials and also on your website. So those are the 10 things that you need to know about running a limited company. I hope you found this useful. Don't forget that if you get any of these things wrong, it could totally destroy your business. You must get all 10 of these things right in order to run a successful limited company. Please don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share. It's really helpful for me, and you will get some free exclusive stuff on this channel if you do subscribe. Until next time, I hope you're successful in whatever you do, and I'll see you again soon.